Hey, Geek History Lesson students, you're about to hear an episode of one of our bonus podcasts. This one's called Jason and Ashley's Excellent Adventures. This episode is where we discuss our love of the Liverpoolian band The Beatles and how we discovered them, some of our favorite songs, and so on. We're putting this one out for everyone to hear for free, but you can hear more episodes like this one over at patreon.com/Jawiin. That's Jawiin. So if you want to hear more episodes like this podcast, where we get personal about our lives, or other podcasts including Geek History Lesson Extra, where we have in-depth discussions about the topics in our regular episodes, or maybe you want to check out our video documentary series, Blackest Nightclub, just head over to patreon.com/Jawiin and sign up to support us and this podcast that you get to enjoy each and every week. One quick note, we did record this episode while driving in a car, so the audio is not up to our usual standards, but it's definitely better than anything Tex Willerman could produce. So now enjoy this bonus episode of Jason and Ashley's Excellent Adventures, just for you.
You say hello, and I say goodbye. That's not how the song goes, but this is Jason.
This is Ashley.
And this is going to sound real good under that piece of music that we use for Jason and Ashley's Excellent Adventures, because that's what you're listening to right now. And there's going to be a lot of singing in this episode. Because why, Ashley? Because why?
Because, well, firstly, because we're in the car.
You know there's a Beatles song called Because, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You want to sing that for us?
No, not really.
There's it's often done a cappella.
Yes, we're back. We're back in the car, giving you another road tripping.
We're day tripping, if you will.
Well,
because you're a day tripper.
That's true. It was a day trip today, but it is night now when we are recording. There is no sun up.
Trip. There's a little sun right there behind the mountains.
I mean, you know what? We sometimes don't want to tell the listeners where we are. I'll tell the listeners where we are right now. We're in between Tucson and Phoenix, Arizona right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the road. People are like, what are you doing there?
In
like,
ye olde desert.
Whatever we want.
We're podcasting. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
We drive to podcast, baby, because that's where you get the peak pinnacle quality of podcasting.
We drove all the way to Arizona to justify all these podcasts.
That's right. You know, it's also the best sound quality. Yeah. So, Ashley, let's talk. What are we talking? We're talking about the Beatles.
We're talking about the Beatles.
Did this prompt come from somebody?
No, it came from my brain.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, nobody suggested this.
No, we're out for this year. We are done with the audience suggestions. Now they're all Ashley's suggestions.
Oh, okay. It's all Ashley's choice.
It's a little peek behind the curtain.
Kind of like Sophie's choice. This is all Ashley's choice from here on out.
We watched that movie. It was bad.
Sophie's choice?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
We hated it. Yeah. We almost turned it off.
Yeah. So we're talking about the Beatles.
Here they are.
John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, a.k.a. Richard Starkey, the lads from Liverpool, who were a band from 1964 to 1970 and released, I don't remember how many albums.
6.
No, way more than that.
7.
Way more than that.
9.
I want to say it's 9.
I have no idea.
I think it's 9, but it's weird because if you get into the official counting, like some people...
because there's British versions and there's American versions.
Yeah, some people...
They have singles.
Yeah, some people don't count the like weird in-between albums.
Don't count My Bonnie. It doesn't count.
I believe there's it's like Please Please Me, Beatles for Sale, with the Beatles.
Meet the Beatles?
With the Beatles, Meet the Beatles. There's Hard Day's Night, Help, Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper's, Magical Mystery Tour,
White Album.
The White Album, Abbey Road, and then Let It Be. So there's 11, but just by my counting. And I probably missed one.
Well, that's many. There's many.
There's a lot.
So many.
It's a lot of albums in only so many years.
Yeah.
Only 6 years. So yeah, talking about our love of the Beatles. We love the Beatles. We both love the Beatles quite a bit.
We have put other Beatles-centric podcasts on our best of years.
We have.
We've seen them live.
Yes.
We reference the Beatles a lot, so I thought since this is the personal podcast, we could get into what that means a little bit more and what that looks like for us.
Yes. First off, Ashley, I want to hear, how did you fall in love with the Beatles? Like, do you remember like when you first started listening? Why did you start listening to the Beatles?
So my parents had Abbey Road. That was it. That was the only Beatles album we had for a long time. And then the Beatles #1 compilation album came out. If you're like a late 90s, early aughts kid.
That's an early aughts release.
You know that one.
It's where they have every single one of their number one hits.
Yeah, it's a red background with the number one. And my parents got that around Christmas time. And then I took it and claimed it as my own. I loved it so much. Mostly the first disc was what I listened to, because the second disc is where stuff gets a little weirder, and you gotta cross into your teens.
Oh, you must have had a weird CD in Canada. It's funny. All three of me and my siblings at the time, because my little brother wasn't born yet. We all three got the Beatles 1 CD as a Christmas gift the year it came out. There was only one CD in our batch.
No, we had two. We had two CDs.
What weird Canadian version did you have?
I don't know. We had the British version.
Do CDs not hold as much in Canada?
We had the British version.
All right. Anyway, sorry. So you got Beatles 1.
But I grew up with the Beatles. Like, we always had Beatles in the house because they were safe. They were safe.
That's one of the
kids.
Beatles mystery albums. Beatles in the house.
They're safe. I also remember, here's the funny thing that I only told Jason recently because I'm like mildly embarrassed by it. I thought for a long time before George Harrison passed that two of the Beatles were dead, not just one. And I thought one of them shot another one and then shot himself.
Yep.
I believed that for like 12 years before.
Ashley loved to think that, Paul McCartney here.
I don't know who I thought.
Hey, sometimes Paul McCartney, when I get mad, I like to pull out, the little stabby thing.
There was also
push it in somebody.
Probably,
watch the blood go splatty splat.
There was probably like 10 years where the only Beatles whose name I knew was Ringo, because he sang my favorite songs.
I can remember the very specific day that George Harrison died.
Me too.
I know exactly what I was doing and where I was.
Yeah, I remember my daddy told me. Okay, so tell me your Beatles origin. How you came to love them. My
Beatles love comes all from one person. GHL, Geek History Lesson guest, my mother, Bernadette Inman. Now, my mom, when I was very little, and probably until I was about 10 or 11, had a red, it was a Chrysler something. It was a two-door thing with like a hatchback. And it was like her high school car. It was like her car that she had. She had it for like 20 years.
Wow.
And it died when I was like, 10 or 11, like it was just gone.
It was like, no more Bernadette, no more.
And in that car, she had a cassette player, and she had the cassette to the album, what many people call the Blue Album, which was, I've always heard it called the Past Masters album. It's Past Masters Volume 2.
Yes.
And it is the Blue Album because it's all their later career. It's like Sgt. Pepper and later. Whereas like there's also the, I think it's the Orange Album is the other one.
Also the Blue Album, that's a play obviously on Picasso's Blue Period.
Yes. Well,
for all of our art connoisseurs.
Well, it's kind of called the Blue Album just because like it has a blue cover, and it has the picture where they're recreating the Please Please Me over the banister.
Yeah.
But it's all during Let It Be, which originally was going to be the picture for Let It Be, and then they decided against it. Which I thought it would have always been really cool. Anyways. I loved that cassette, and I listened to it a lot. And also, after listening to that cassette, very soon on ABC television, they aired the Beatles Anthology.
Oh, the greatest.
And that was, if you do not know what the Beatles Anthology is and you care about the Beatles, I highly recommend you have to like go to eBay and find the DVDs and buy it, because they need to release that thing on Blu-ray.
I can't believe it's not streaming somewhere either.
Yeah, it's not streaming anywhere. I remember in college I would always watch the torrent of it just because it was the only way I could find it.
Honestly, like Paul and Ringo should just put it up on their websites and charge like $15 for it.
Yeah.
People would pay for it.
I would buy it. It's amazing. I actually showed it to Ashley a couple years ago.
I loved it.
It is astounding. And that is what made me truly, truly love the Beatles.
Because they're funny and they're interesting and they're smart.
Yes.
They are what pop stars should aspire to be.
Well, I mean, here's what I'm going to say about the Beatles. The Beatles, for me, I actually never get tired of them.
Me either. There's always something new to appreciate.
Yeah, like, I mean, I sometimes, like, in my life, I'm always, like, listening to them.
In your life?
In my life, yep. I can get tired of them every once in a while, but, like, their songs never sound stale.
Mm-hmm. They sound modern, too, for the most part.
And a lot of their songs sound really modern. And when you think about these songs were coming out in the late 60s, also the other thing is that they're so damn good. Like the lyrics and the harmonies and the musicality of them are just so impressive.
Yes.
So, yeah.
We like to see different spins on their songs. Now, this was not a movie that we talked about on our Best of 2019, and we probably ought to have, but you and I really enjoyed Yesterday.
Yes, I really enjoyed Yesterday quite a bit.
Year. That was a really good take on the Beatles. So, all right, Jason, next logical question.
Okay.
Favorite song and favorite Beatle?
I have two answers.
That's fine.
For favorite song. Because I have my personal favorite.
Uh-huh.
And I have what I think is objectively the best Beatles song.
Yes.
My personal favorite is Let It Be by Mr. Paul McCartney from the album Let It Be. I just think there's something about that song that's very special. And now a big piece of that is that it is also my mom's favorite Beatles song, which I know probably influences me quite a bit.
Sure.
And it's a song that I have always wanted to learn how to play on the piano and be able to sing for people. And that is my goal before I die, to be able to do that. I would say if I'm picking the objective best, to me, it's A Day in the Life off of the album Sgt. Pepper's.
I'd agree with you. Even Rolling Stone said that, and they never get anything right.
Yeah, Rolling Stone actually named it the greatest song of all time.
Yeah.
And that is the song where, of course, John Lennon is, God, what does he say? 5,000 hoes in Blackbird, Lancashire. You know, like, I read the news today, oh boy.
They smashed it together with a Paul McCartney song.
About a lucky man who made the grave. Yes, and with that to me is, and the reason why objectively best is because the John Lennon bits, they're all newspaper headlines. Did you know that?
I did know, because you told me.
Yes, okay, sorry. I didn't remember if I had or not. So they were all like newspaper headlines that made John kind of depressed, and he kind of strung them all together. And then he didn't know what to do in the bridge. And Paul had this other song that he was sort of working on, and that's the middle bridge where he's like, woke up, got out of bed, dragged a comb across my head.
You're not going to go to the best part?
That one, yeah. By the way, everybody out there, if you don't know, Peter Serafinowicz, who is a very funny actor and also stars as the Tick on Amazon.
And also that guy in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, and also that guy in Parks and Rec. He actually did a joke in the 90s where he continued Paul's Day in the Life, like that bridge of the song.
It's like a 19-minute song.
It's 19 minutes long, and so it never ends. So there's a part of the Paul song where it goes, where he like, then I sat down in a wind to a dream, and then John takes over. The Peter Serafinowicz goes, it's something like, and I sat down in a wind to a dream, and then my boss woke me up, and I went down the stairs, and it just keeps going and going and going.
Silly.
It's funny. It's
he shares
really funny.
It like every year on Paul's birthday.
Yes. So objectively, to me, the amazing thing about the Beatles is how separately John Lennon and Paul McCartney are two of the most talented people in the world.
At completely different things.
At completely different things. Together, they are the greatest songwriting duo that's probably ever lived.
I agree with that.
And it's funny because, and I've heard this said a lot of times, especially on other Beatle podcasts that we listen to, any four of the Beatles, because John is this amazing, artful, out there guy. Paul is just like the classical musician.
Yeah, like, and just so talented, like as a singer.
He's the best singer.
Incredible.
He's the best singer of the Beatles. George can beat anyone in the world at guitar.
Technician.
Yes, and then you're hard pressed to find anybody that can play the drums better than Ringo.
Yeah, Ringo, when they formed the band, was the coolest one that they all wanted in the band.
Yeah, they all wanted Ringo in the band. So to me, I've heard this on a lot of podcasts, and we're going to steal for here. A lot of people say that you take any of the Beatles out of the Beatles, and they become the most talented guy. They become the biggest person in the world with whatever rock group they form.
Yeah.
But put them all together, and it becomes the greatest rock and roll group of all time.
It becomes the Beatles.
Yeah. And, yeah. Ashley, what is your favorite song? Do you have a favorite and an objective, or do you agree with Day in the Life?
I agree with Day in the Life.
Okay. What's your favorite?
My favorite Beatles song changes a lot, and it's changed a lot over the course of my life.
Changes.
That's not what this podcast is
Bowie
about.
episode coming next.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe. I love Bowie.
I like Bowie too. Right now, I'm really into, as a grown-up person, She's Coming Home.
Oh, yeah, it's a great song.
And you can find Paul's vocals with nothing else.
Oh, it's haunting.
And it's so beautiful and and he's so young when he recorded them. Like, it's heartbreaking. And that song is pretty sad to begin with. But I'm also super into Please Please Me, their very first album.
Oh.
Like, that's the one that I keep revisiting and listening to, and it's the one that I've probably binge listened to the least.
And that's the one that they had to record live,
and they did it in like 2 days, like in a matter of hours.
Oh, I heard they did it in like 3 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I heard they did it in 3 hours. And then also John was sick or something. No, that's the second album that we said.
Yeah. It's awesome. And I saw her standing there, which is their first song. I think is like an incredible song. But for years and years when I was a kid, like I mentioned, my favorite songs were Octopus's Garden and Yellow Submarine. So my favorite Beatle has always been Ringo.
Oh, you like the granny shite, did you?
And I've always...
Of course you did. John Lennon here.
I know. Go away. You're so
No,
mean.
John Lennon's here. I know you like the granny shite.
John, I love you, but I don't think I like you. Do you know what I mean?
Well, of course.
You know?
It's not up to you whether you like me or not. It's up to the universe.
That's true.
Yes, of course it is.
I also think...
Have you seen Yoko anywhere? I don't see a mattress in here.
I haven't, but you know what? I would love to meet her. Jason and I have a lot of thoughts about Yoko as well.
I think she's a cool bird.
I think she's cool too. I think she's wild.
Well, I'm actually dead right now, so ta-ta.
Okay, bye. I also think Ringo is like easily the most adorable Beatle because he's like the smallest little Muppety one. Like I have so much love for Ringo Starr. And when I was on Ken Knopsack's podcast the last time on the Knopsack Files, we talked extensively about how cool Ringo was.
Oh yeah, Ringo is quite amazing actually.
And I think to transition into like one more thing, what's really fortunate about liking the two Beatles who are still alive is that Jason and I have now had the opportunity to see both Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr live.
Yes, and we saw them in 2019
together
in the same year,
which was really cool.
Yeah, because like I had been trying to see Paul for years,
for as long as I've known
even when I lived in Oklahoma. But every time I tried to get tickets, they sold out.
And they're pricey.
And they're pretty pricey. So,
which is not an indictment.
No,
they're allowed to be pricey, but sometimes that's a reality.
Yeah. So we finally got to see Paul this year on his
last year,
excuse me. Sorry, yes, 2019 in his Egypt Station tour. And
Egypt Station, by the way, pretty good album.
Egypt Station actually is a pretty good album. Like it kind of surprised everybody. Where everybody's like, "Oh, Paul still got it."
Yeah.
All right, Paul.
Paul's a septuagenarian who's cooler than all of us.
Yes, because he's kind of. I mean, I love Paul McCartney, but Paul's solo career is very mixed, and his last two albums before Egypt Station are very bad.
Yeah.
So like the fact that he was able to pull out Egypt Station that has most of its, I'd say 90% of its good songs.
Yeah.
You're like, well done, dude. Well done.
I don't know how to write a song, so I'm impressed.
So we got to see him, and I will say, like, I spent more on Paul McCartney tickets than I have on anything else I've ever spent money on. Besides car, like on any like pop culture-y thing.
Yeah.
But I kind of figured that I was like, okay, if we're gonna see Paul McCartney, like I'm going out.
We're gonna get good tickets.
I'm gonna get good tickets, and I mean, we were like 50 feet from the stage.
Yeah, they were good tickets.
We were really good. We were on the floor because Paul only does stadiums because he's Paul McCartney. Yeah, and then Ringo Starr, we had pretty good tickets too. But we saw Ringo with his all-star band, which was in this a couple months later. And the great thing about that is that if you don't know about Ringo Starr and his all-star band, he pulls in like other musicians and just like has fun and plays them. So what they do is they play 2 Ringo songs, and then each other artist gets to play a song from their band. So we saw a guy from Santana, a guy from Africa, a guy from Toto,
a guy from Basic White Band,
and then the last one was Colin Hay.
Jason was like ecstatic that Colin Hay was there.
Well, because Colin Hay, I was like, Colin, you can still pack rooms. What are you doing here?
Also, his voice was perfectly preserved. Like he sounds exactly the way he sounds on
I can't
on
get
the album.
to sleep. I can't do Colin Hay. He sings so high.
sang other people's songs that they couldn't sing anymore.
One of the men at work, Colin Hay.
He's great.
Gonna come from a land down under.
We're gonna go see him this year. It's gonna be great.
Yes, we are. We have to buy tickets for that.
Yep.
Who's your favorite Beatle, Ashley?
Ringo Starr. I said that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We already talked about it.
I didn't say who my favorite Beatle was.
Yes, you did.
Did I say it was Paul?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I lost. Look, it's night. We're in the dusty Arizona desert where we record all of our podcasts. And
this year, yeah.
You know, I forgot. Is there anything else we need to say? I feel like we haven't talked about the Beatles enough.
Well, we've talked about the Beatles for 20 minutes.
Yes.
So
I wrote a song about the octopus. I'm Ringo Starr.
Jason.
Peace and love.
You have a really cool album that you put together, which is sort of an examination of what the Beatles' career might have looked like if they'd stuck together. So I think maybe I want to send this up by asking you if you would feel comfortable recommending a solo career song for each of the Beatles that you think is really cool.
Well, Ashley, I will tell you this. Mm-hmm. I still get asked about this on Twitter because I made a road trip version of what I think if the Beatles... So I made a Beatles album that would have came out in 1974.
Yep.
And I made it from a lot of their solo songs. Now, I did make it a Spotify link. It is on Spotify.
Oh, yeah?
You will have to make a note of this.
Okay. I'll put it in our show notes.
And I would be willing to share that link.
Okay.
Of what I think it is. And I put a lot of thought into it. And at first, when I talked, I think it was like 2 years ago I talked about this because I've had some people be like, when are you going to share this link, man? And I didn't do it because I saw another friend of ours, Alex Segura.
Yes.
He made a Beatles like 70s. That's the reason why I made it. Is like me and Alex were talking about it back and forth. They're like, oh, do you think this song would be on there? Do you think this song would be on there? And it was funny because me and Alex had completely different opinions, and that was so fun about it. We were like, oh, that's cool. You put that one on there? Oh, I don't think they would. No. So that was fun. But then the internet came in and ruined it. Yeah. And I saw he shared his first.
Yeah.
And then I saw how the internet took down every one of his opinions and told him how he was wrong. And I didn't share mine. And I was like, you know what? Screw you guys. You don't get mine.
Yeah.
But for the patrons, I will share.
Who are consistently lovely.
So I will share it. So yes, well,
then never mind. Go listen to the link in the show notes.
No. So I put on there the songs that I thought they would maybe put on. So my idea behind it was the Beatles break up in 1970, and a lot of people think that they hated each other. They didn't. They hated all the business stuff.
They hated some of their management.
But it was actually recently revealed in an audio recording because John Lennon was obsessed with recording everything.
Also because Ringo was in the hospital.
Yes, and because Ringo was in the hospital and couldn't be at the meeting, John recorded the meeting for Ringo.
Yep.
So we could listen to it later. In this recording that was revealed, I think like a year and a half ago, they were talking about another album.
And getting back for a tour.
And getting back together for a tour.
Which they hadn't done for years at that point.
So to me, okay, but we know they broke up.
Yes.
So to me, you got to give them a couple of years.
Yeah.
I think the Beatles all go away for like 2 to 3 years and probably don't talk to each other.
Uh-huh.
And then I think John and Paul start talking and they start, talking to each other. And then I think in 1974, 4 years later, there's been enough distance. Mm-hmm. The pals, the lads from Liverpool come back. Mm-hmm. So my basic rules for this were it had to be songs that sound like Beatles songs.
Yes.
Which right out the gate kind of discounts a lot of John Lennon songs.
It surely does. But it includes a lot of George songs because George wrote a lot of great songs that were like arbitrarily, or in my opinion, arbitrarily rejected by John, especially, but John and Paul.
Well, let's say this right out the gate. George Harrison has the best solo career.
Absolutely.
Post the Beatles, of all of them. Because All Things Must Pass is an amazing album. And then George has a couple other just you could kind of tell like George had been held back.
Yeah.
And then when he got the chance to shine, baby, he let it go because he has some astounding songs. So it's actually a tie, I think, in my list between Paul and George.
I think it is, yeah.
Of who has the most songs. Ringo has 2. I think John has
one of the Ringo songs was written by George.
4.
Wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, both Ringo songs were written by George.
That's cute. I love that.
And George gave them to Ringo.
Yeah.
So like there's no Beatles hate songs.
No.
There's one on there. A lot of people think there's this one Paul McCartney song that's about John, and Paul has said that it's about Linda's father. So that to me is why I put it on the list. There's a bunch of great songs in there. Like, the standout song to me is "Give Me Peace, Give Me Love," which is a George Harrison song.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's kind of skirts on the edge because George didn't write that until 1974, so that's the last song. But a lot of George's other songs were songs that he was working on during the Beatles. A couple of the John songs.
There's a rejected Paul song.
There's a rejected Paul song
which is really good
that you can hear in the Beatles Anthology. There's a rejected John song that you can hear in the Beatles Anthology that he later recorded. And then, to me, just knowing the kind of bastard that John Lennon is, I allowed one Beatles hate song.
And it's a John song.
And it's a John song. And it's the final song. And it's the one called God. Because he ends it with, I don't believe in Beatles.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the song. And I think John Lennon would put that at the end of a Beatles album and just be like, ha 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 ha, let all those fuckers think we're breaking up.
Totally.
Like, it seems like the ultimate John move.
Yeah,
and then 4 years later, they'd record another album.
Yeah.
So that's the only, because it really does sound like a Beatles song. Now, one big one that I know a lot of people give me crap about, I did not put Imagine in this list. Because I don't believe...
It's not a Beatles song.
It's a John and Yoko song. And it was recently revealed that Yoko wrote most of the lyrics.
Yeah.
So to me, if the Beatles would reject it outright.
Okay, really quick.
Yes.
If listeners, if you haven't seen the John and Yoko documentary that came out last year on Netflix...
It's great.
Highly recommend. It's really incredible. And it really shows Yoko in a positive light. Yoko did not break up the Beatles. If you believe that, I'm sorry, you're wrong. And you can really see her contribution and what was great about her and John. I don't think they were like this infallible love story, but I really like that documentary. And then there's also this weird MTV thought experiment movie that I shared after we watched it in the Mine University because the whole thing is up on YouTube. Yeah, and it's Jared Harris as John Lennon and Aidan Quinn as Paul McCartney.
It's great.
Just in conversation, an imaginary conversation.
You can, it's on YouTube. The entire movie's on YouTube. And I actually think it's a great movie. I think it's really good. It's really great. It's really kind of sad.
I'm going to whack those into the show notes too. But if you like the Beatles and you haven't engaged with either of those, I think they're cool to take a look at.
The last thing I want to say about my mystical Orange Album Beatles album is I also named it and I made artwork. I shared the artwork on Twitter.
You did.
I don't know how to upload the artwork to Spotify. I don't know if I can.
That's fine.
So people are like, well, what would you call it? And to me, if you look at the last couple of Beatles albums, they didn't care to name their albums. They named Abbey Road, the one they recorded in Abbey Road. And the only reason why they called Let It Be is because I can't remember, it was the idea of what the number one song they thought the number one song would be. I can't remember the other. They were going to call Let It Be something else. I don't think it was Across the Universe, but it was another one of the tracks. I want to say it was like Two of Us, maybe.
Great song.
Or something like that. So, to me, the biggest and best track, or the most successful track of Abbey Road is George Harrison's Here Comes the Sun. Mm-hmm. So to me, I was like, oh, it has to be a George song. And to me, the most successful... I know I'm saying to me a lot. I apologize. The most successful George song between 1970 and 1974 is What Is Life? And so I named the Beatles album What Is Life. I think they would have called it What Is Life. And I put it under one of the unused pictures that they took for Abbey Road. Which is all of them standing in front of a white site.
That photographer passed away last year.
Yes,
who
they
took
did.
a lot of their album
Yes,
photos.
they did.
Yeah, the John Lennon official Instagram account shared a lot of really beautiful photos from that session.
If you have never looked through that session's photos, they took like
thousands, hundreds.
I don't think it was out. It was like 300 photos because they took a whole bunch in a studio. They took a whole bunch at the hotel. They took the Please Please Me photo.
Yeah.
They went to John's house and took a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
They took a whole bunch in the pasture behind John's house.
John looks insane in those ones.
And then none of them could agree on which one to use. So at the end of the day, the compromise was, well, just let the lads pick one of themselves that they like the best, and we'll stitch them together.
Yeah.
And that's how the Let It Be album came.
Yeah.
But it sucks because if you look at any of those photos,
they're all better than the cover.
They're all
Yeah.
better than that badly pre-photoshopped fucking poster.
They probably just all wanted to fight.
Well, that's the thing. Like at that time, they were just fighting about everything because they needed a break, and
like any good relationship, sometimes you got to take a sabbatical.
Yeah, because again, you look at any of those photos and you're like, that's the album cover. That's the album cover. That's the album cover.
Well, you look at any of them, not even album cover, you're just like, this is better. This is better. The outtake where half their eyes are closed is better.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I still think they should have used the Please Please Me photo.
I agree.
Because it so ties back to the first album.
Especially because they probably knew that it was going to be their last one, so it would have been such a nice bookend.
Well, it's funny.
But no.
It's funny because
it wasn't supposed to be the last one.
this is a lot of people don't know this. The Beatles actually planned every album post Abbey Road as their last one.
Yes.
Because they always were like, this will be the last one, and then they would do it. And then Paul, it was always Paul. Paul would convince them to do another one.
It'll be fun.
How about we do another one, boys? You know, like,
all right.
Like, we'll come over here. Hey, John, is that you over there, John?
Yeah, that's me.
Is this John Lennon who I'm talking to?
Also,
John, I think right here, you know, like, I think maybe we could do another album, you know what I'm saying? Like, we did Sgt. Pepper. How about...
do one from Beyond the Grave.
Yes, we could, John. Yes, we could. How about we do Private Pepper? Private Pepper, he got demoted, maybe.
That's a downgrade, Paul.
It's quite a downgrade,
That's an
insult. But then it becomes a struggle, you know, because he has to come up and he has to fight his
I'll only do Private Pepper
his
if
cousin,
I can put
Mr.
my
Pibb.
penis on the cover.
No, John, we can't put your ding-dangle on the front cover.
It's private.
We can't put your wing-wang on the front cover, John. People...
Is it Paul in the anthology who's like, yeah, he showed me that cover, and I was like, well, your penis is out.
I think it was George, actually. I think it was George.
Really
the famous... Ashley's talking about the famous John Lennon Yoko Ono photo.
They're just naked.
And that George, I think...
George was like, John asked me what I thought about it.
And he was like, well, he's like, your penis is out. George Harrison is up here.
You've also never...
I didn't like the taxes. It's been done.
Yeah, Jason has an impression of every
I have
Beatle.
George Harrison right now.
If you've never listened to any of them in interview, they're so funny. And they're so clever.
I didn't like paying my taxes.
What did Ringo think
done.
about this whole era?
I wrote a song about an octopus. It was fun.
That's right. Ringo says about everything it was fun.
It was a fun time.
He's the best.
Yes.
It was fun.
Hey, it's Ashley. Paul McCartney's back here right now.
Paul.
Hi, how's it going?
I liked your concert. It made me cry.
Oh, good. Did you like the part where we went to
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, you did? Okay, it was very good.
Mm-hmm. I even like the Wing songs.
Sometimes I like to think about playing the guitars like petting a goose. You know, you like touching the goose and you go into pat, pat, wiggle whack and, you know, the music comes out.
You have a pet goose?
Yes, of course. I have a big farm in Scotland.
That's true.
Or as I like to call it, Dreamland.
Dreamland?
Yes. Elvis has Graceland. I have Dreamland.
Shouldn't it be McCartney Land?
Don't be so pedestrian.
I mean, you are a very famous vegetarian, so maybe you do have a lot of pets.
I like to think about my works, you know, as a more dreamy and fairy tale way.
Yeah, granny shite.
Have you been speaking to John?
Right, yeah, we had a seance earlier.
Look, children listen to the Beatles, right? You know,
Yes.
it's like, you know, you like to do the thing that, like, you know, Yellow Submarine is like the Helter Skelter. It's the introductory drug to the Beatles.
I liked it when you said in an interview that you couldn't play the Beatles Rock Band game, and you told your grandchildren that you wrote that song, so it didn't matter if you were good at the game or not.
That's exactly right. But you know how much, you know how much money, you know how much scratch I made off for the Beatles Rock Band game.
I'm sure you bought like an island in Bermuda with it.
Oh, I bought Australia.
You bought what's on fire right now.
I secretly own Australia. Paul McCartney does.
He's the king of Australia.
That's secretly the real McCartney land, Australia.
all of Australia.
Yes, especially Perth.
You know, there's like no ozone there, right?
That's fine for me.
Okay.
This means the instruments won't sweat as much.
I don't think that's true.
Listen, who's the world-famous musician here, Ashley?
You are, Paul.
Yes. Say, bud, I have a big hotel room back here, and the wifey doesn't mind, so why don't you come back for some wing-wang and a bing-bong?
Sure, I bet your wife is, right about my age, so...
She's pretty much. I think she was born in 1992.
1992?
I believe so.
That's distressing to me if that's true.
Yes. She liked to bing-bang on the ping-pong, if you know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying.
I think this is time to end the episode.
All right, Paul, would you sign off for us?
Yes, so thank you so much for your support of loving the Beatles. I don't care about your support of the Patreon, but if you like this flim flam on the wing wang, then just go on, leave a thumbs up and a little like. Is that how it does? Is that how you do it on the TikTok?
If you would like Paul McCartney to officiate Clea and Dr. Strange's wedding, please let us know.
Oh dear God, I don't know if I could do that. It'd be like people. It would be like who's the famous nun?
The flying nun?
No.
Mother Teresa?
Mother Teresa, thank you very much.
Like she's the only nun I know.
The flying nun is Sally Field.
Is it really?
Forrest Gump's mother.
Did you ever flim flam with her?
Sally Field?
Yeah.
Oh, several times. Of course. Right after she was
Is she Frog?
Is she
from
what?
the Burt Reynolds movie?
From Smokey and the Bandit? Yes, she is.
He calls her Frog.
Yes, she's Frog.
Yeah.
I was watching that movie once with Ringo Starr.
I bet.
And I looked at the screen and I said, that's a bird I'd sure like to pet, if you know what I mean.
Can that bird sing?
That bird can sing.
Nice.
And she can run, because she's Forrest Gump's mama. Forrest Gump's mum, excuse me, if I know my English pronouns better. So, anyways, thank you so much, listeners. I don't really care what you think about this podcast, because I'm Paul McCartney.
All right, well, we need Paul to drive us the rest of the way.
Do we really?
So we're
I don't drive. I'm Paul McCartney.
You probably don't.
I'm Paul McCartney.
So we're going to sign off. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Listening to this incredible
long. Egypt Station. Are we about to Egypt Station, love?
Yeah, we're about to Egypt Station.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, in Brazil. It's going to be fun.
In Brazil?
Yeah, that's another one of your sons.
Yes, it is. I forgot. I'm like 82.
You're like 77. Ringo's going to be 81.
That's pretty close to 82.
Yes.
I
mean, it is in the scope of the world.
When I'm 64. That was a while ago.
What about when you're 84?
Well, I'll write that song when I get there.
Okay. Fair. You know what? Fair. All right, listeners.
Bye-bye, loves.
Bye.
Bye-bye.